Hi, Annette. Good morning. It is such a pleasure to have you on the podcast with me today.
Thank you, Sabine. Thanks for having me.
It's a treat to have you here. And thank you also for contributing to the book. It's going to be very exciting. That's out soon. I'm really pleased because the stories you shared were so impactful in the book. And we're also excited to learn a bit more about you this morning with the three questions of the day to start the week. We've known each other for so many years. I enjoy our conversations. And I think what's so nice with you is that I always have a new insight after I talk with you. And I so value to have someone just to have open conversations with. And I think that that's so important for other women to have as well. So I would encourage everyone to go out and find an Annette or my Annette in this world.
Well, I have to say, though, this is exactly how I feel when I spoke to you. It's like, gosh, this is so useful and so powerful. And I will talk about you in a short.
All right. But first, let's hear a little bit about you. So for those people that don't know you, tell us about.
I'm a management consultant, and I have been in consulting many years. It's over 20 years now. Even though it's been a long time, I do not solely define myself as a management consultant because I started working in industry. And that really is something that is still with me a lot. So I worked in 8 different countries in many different parts of the world, out in Asia, but also in the US and a lot in different countries in Europe for different companies. And I also worked in academia before I then joined consulting. I always had the problem that I find very many things interesting. And I could never really say that's exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life. And consulting allowed me to test and try so many different things in a short time. And I never got bored because that job offers me to see so many different things and different parts of the world, different companies, different people. And that's why I enjoy it so much. But my background is wider than consulting. And I have a family. I have 2 small kids. So I juggle that as well. And I really enjoy it. I'm a sports person. I was actually once scouted to train for Olympia in swimming. I never went for it, but I was scouted.
See,
Yes.
something new that I learned
Yeah.
from you.
And
I
I did
didn't know that.
gymnastics for many years where I trained 5 days a week. So I'm also very into sports and today enjoy a variety of sports, but not to a competitive level, of course.
That's incredible that you're a swimmer and at that level. Wow. Is that something that your children have inherited?
My son, probably. My daughter, I still have to see. She's not yet ever had a swimming class, so we shall see. Of course, I observe, but I'm not going to push them in any direction. But if they pick it up, I would be happy to support it, of course.
It is interesting. And I've had the opportunity to hear a lot about your career and steps that you've taken. And although you've been with one organization for many years, you've had lots of opportunities, as you shared, which I think is very valuable working in the consultancy business. If you reflect on your career, we're going to jump right into that first question around making big decisions. And so many of us, or so many people, can have the tendency to play it safe and to not potentially take a risky or what feels like a risky decision. I like the question of asking yourself, what if I don't do this? And how will my life be impacted if I don't make this decision? And I'm curious to hear if you have any examples of this in your own career.
Yeah, look, I mean, the question is such a good question. And in fact, it's quite later on in my career that I kept turning around when I had decisions to take and saying, what if I don't? Instead of saying, does it fit to my layout? Because I have to be honest, when I was 18, 19, 20, I had a laid out career. I said, I have to do this and this and this and this. In order to get that, I had it really laid out. And I spoke to everybody about it and they all loved it. They were all impressed. I had my plan. But then I came to a point where I had put all of these things in reality, late 20s, and I had it all. And then I thought, so what now? My plans come to an end and I couldn't make up a new plan. I wasn't able to lay out a second plan. I just didn't know. I didn't know what to achieve as next and what to do. So I was kind of free floating. And at that point, I had the most amazing opportunities though. And every time something came up, I said to myself, I have to try because if not, I had the fear of it would always play in my head. What if? you would have done it? Where would you be if you would have said yes at that point? And I think my most, and as you said, I had many different jobs within EY. That's why I stayed so long. They offered me, I don't know, 2 years out in Asia, and could have as well been another job with another company in Asia. And then I did look after a big client, solely focusing on one client, so key account management. And that could have as well been a very different job. And then suddenly, and it was 4 years ago, I had the request of becoming our talent partner for our newly founded region, 26 countries, 10,000 people, and it's, so to speak, an HR leader. And look, I'm a management consultant. I go out to companies and advise them instead of being responsible for our own people inside for HR, and then such a big, kind of so many different
A
countries.
significant role.
Yes, and I was like, wow. And I knew, and I said, if I say no now, because it might not fit perfectly into what I've always done and what a normal next step would be, I knew I'd ask myself, but if I say no now, I will always wonder what would have happened, where would I have gotten to? And so I said yes. And I remember that point that we had a conversation.
We did. Yeah, I remember
And
that
I
too.
remember that one line, and you said, look, even if you've never done it before, it would complement your profile. And I was like, yes, exactly. It's something I had never done before. So it would really complement, instead of playing it safe, it's next to or very similar to what I've always done. And you, gave me that feel of, it makes a lot of sense. Then playing to my safe mind, it makes sense to add it to my profile. So it nicely came together, and so I did it, and I didn't regret a second.
And it was a big responsibility. It was a big shift to not face. So you didn't have direct client contact at that point. It was mostly internal
Less and less and
focused.
less, because it consumed a lot of my time. Since this year, I'm back in my consulting role. I did it 3 years, and I tell you, at day one, week one, maybe even month one, I didn't understand a single word of what they were talking about. It was so very different. Abbreviation, terminology. I really started from zero. A lot of topics. And it's so complex. I had no imagination, and I found a new appreciation for that part of that job and of the people doing these jobs. It's incredibly complex. And I always rate it by the amount of how many folders I open for a particular topic. You can imagine I'm very structured with my folders and on my PC. And I had after half year, 26 folders, meaning 26 different topics to cover in HR for this big region. It was incredible. And I remember in the beginning, my head was spinning. I was like, oh my God, because I hadn't felt like new to a topic for many years at that point, like 3-4 years ago. But it was really a new love that I found. So I'm a big fan now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now
That's
imagine I consult clients on that topic,
There
which
you
I couldn't
go.
do before, but now I
Have done
can.
before.
Yeah, now I
That's
can.
true.
Yeah.
And there were days when you thought, what am I doing? And how did you deal with that? Because I think so often too, when we're in leadership roles, we're supposed to know all the answers and we're supposed to do all the guiding. And if someone comes to us, but you're in a situation where you don't have all the answers, maybe you can work through them with your
Yeah.
strategic mindset, but still there's a bit of a gap. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's something I've learned a bit earlier in my management consulting role. You can imagine, when you have big transformative projects you're responsible for, there's all sorts of questions you cannot answer yourself, but you need a team. So, and I'm a big fan and a big believer in different skills for different people. I know I cannot know everything, and I have no problem telling people I don't know, but I know someone who knows. In fact, my very first boss in a company, he said to me, Annette, what I admire in you is you don't know everything, but you always know who knows. And I thought, okay. And that's
That's your
a
tagline,
skill.
your mantra.
That's a skill, right? And so already in my big transformative programs I'm doing, I got very much used to the fact that I can't know everything. And also in that new role for HR, I had a big team, many people in the background, and a big team that had these different responsibilities. And once I knew who knows what, that's the first thing. I got to know everybody, and I know what they were looking after, and I took good care of that. Clear notes. And then I knew whom to go to and whom to connect in case of questions. So I didn't have my own desire needing to know every single detail. I didn't have that. It was okay for me to know like the broad picture and then to know who can have a deep dive. I was always very keen on learning. So I joined many of these meetings to really know more details and to really grasp like one topic is the future of the workforce with all the new developments, even though I'm not expected to be the one who knows all the details, but I was so interested and curious to learn everything about it. So it felt like back in my time at Cambridge University, where I did some research to really be part of speaking to the experts, learning a lot, and then very often combining different things that I hear there and I hear there, and I connect the dots and something else develops.
There are, I think, like 20 lessons in that short little story that you just shared about it's okay to take steps that don't feel like they're in the line or in this path that you have, because you can look at your career as a whole and complementing it can be so valuable. Not being concerned about not knowing everything, because knowing the right people is so important, and to build your team around you, and that your skill sets are to do exactly that, to know
Mhm,
who to tap into. That's the strength, and that's why you're in the role.
mhm.
I love that. Nice, Annette. Yeah. So don't be afraid. And you can always go back. So you shifted back
Exactly.
into your consulting role. And as you said, it made you feel that it even strengthens what you're doing now.
Yes, it so much enriched me, not just by the fact that I can now consult others who get into the role or have these topics to discuss in companies, but also the way I work with the teams. You know, it's very different now. I very much understand much more about career ladders and ambitions and how to coach and prepare for, I was part of the roundtables when we evaluate new senior managers, directors, partners. And I've seen so many presenting in front of me, making their case, that I now those who are coming up next, they reach out to me and ask, how to best prepare. So I have so much more to give and to share and to coach, and I see, and that's one of the things I really enjoy, to really find out what the potential is in the person I'm speaking to. What is it they're really good at? And then to really get them into a position to bring that out. That's really something that I'm really fascinated by. And I learned so much in the talent role by how to shape the right career paths, how to have the right conversations, how to position them in a place where they can really fulfill their potential and show their potential. And so lots of the things I've learned in these 3 years, I can apply now to my team or to
Yeah.
my expert team, to my colleagues, to my round of females that we have in EY to support each other. So it's a lot to reapply in a different context.
Offer. Yeah. The ripples are enormous, but could be dangerous too. Now that everyone knows that, you're probably going to be getting a lot of phone calls.
And that's another thing. Another thing. I want to take time because I know very often when in the past I not so often dared to reach out to others. For example, my own partner case, I didn't sound it with anybody because I thought I can't ask. As you think, who should I ask to take time? I should be able to manage on my own. That was very much my mindset 10 years ago. So when people reach out to me, I say, fantastic, well done on reaching out.
Yeah.
And I would
Right.
make everything possible to take time for anybody, no matter how many people, honestly. And this is what I said to myself, because once they reached out, it's already this major hurdle they've taken that I never managed myself. For those who do, I really admire for doing it. And then, of course, I take the time to do it.
Yeah, that is so important. And that is perfect. Oh my gosh, you couldn't have prepared a better segue into the next question, because that's about who's impacted you. And you've had the opportunity to engage with so many incredible individuals. I've had the pleasure of hearing some of those stories, but if you could pick someone and if they were here with us on the call right now, what would you say to them about how they've potentially impacted you, and how would you thank them?
Oh, that's again a very nice question. In particular, I always like the second part of your questions because it's about how to, the first one I hear often who shaped you, but not so often what would you say to thank them. So it's an amazing
Yeah.
question. And look, I have many people that come to my mind that they have been with me and they came to stay, and there are still people I talk to and share my career and my thinking. Some came and disappeared again, and they were important for some parts of it.
Mhm.
And some just arrive where I think, gosh, that would be a great person to, keep exchanging with on professional topics. Mind you, very often it goes, once you start with professional topics, it very much gets a life-spanning conversation. So I had quite a few that jumped to my mind. And I had people who were in my professional context, but also some who never really worked in a big career. And they're still very valuable to look at things from different angles and standpoints. And that's maybe also something that I would like to share with people. Do not look out for that one mentor that will arrive in your life and
Mm.
be there and that you can, regularly on a fixed term always exchange with. I think people come into your life as an opportunity. And I had so many conversations where the other person doesn't know. I'm looking at them as my mentor, or I take example for myself. And many conversations I had that maybe even sometimes after some time, I think this is something that sticks with me and that's something I'm going to try to do. Without the proper context of now it's a coaching session and you're my mentor, so much to grasp from different people at different point in time. So I would advise not to wait for the one mentor who
Right.
is with you all your life and gives you the right advice. It didn't exist for me. But yeah, so what would I say to thank? I think it's one thing that often happens is they see things in me which I do not see for myself. And I'm always surprised. So I would thank them to see things in me I don't see for myself and to believe in me when I don't believe in myself. And I think these are the two big things that very often people tell me things like, me? Really?
Yeah.
Honestly, talking about me?
We're always so surprised at
Yes,
what others
yes.
see.
Yeah. So I would, all the belief they have in me is, that's been quite encouraging.
Yeah. And I loved what you just said because you're so right. Sometimes I think it's with life. Sometimes we wait for
Mm,
the light shining
mm,
down upon us and
yeah.
this aha moment and everything's different. And well, some people could maybe that happens too, but it's probably less likely. And it fits so beautifully into what you said about all of the people that have impacted you. It's not just this one amazing individual, but it's been so many. And just to be open to them and listen to what they have to say and just to jot down the ideas that they share with us, but also to thank them. And even if you thank them later, I just think that that's such an important thing because we forget sometimes to do that because our lives are so busy and we move from situation to situation. But even if you come back and you have a conversation with them a year later to say, remember that, like what you did, a conversation that we had years ago that you said today that impacted you. That's incredible to hear.
Mm,
And we all, I think, as you said, you want to be there for individuals. So it's so nice to share those thank yous with people.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, nice. But then about you, Annette, also leaving your own legacy and how you want to be remembered. And I believe legacy is sometimes we compartmentalize it and think about it like when we're not here anymore. But I certainly don't. I believe legacy is what we do every day and how we engage with people and what you said earlier about being open and wanting to support people. It's part of a legacy. But if you had to share something that you would like to be remembered for, what would that be?
Yeah, yeah. Look, the first time I had this question was 10 years ago when I was on my partner promotion celebration. And that was the question that they put out in the room for all the newly promoted partners. Please think about it. What will be your legacy as a partner? And, I took it away. What will be my legacy? And of course, then you wonder, what is it that that people will remember you for? And I have to say, I have days when I wake up in the morning and I have like 30 things that I would,
Good.
tell you and this and this and this and this. And then there are days where I'm thinking, this is such a big question.
Yeah.
What will it be? What is it? Because there was a point a few years ago where I thought, I want to know what is it? What's my legacy? And I asked a few people because whenever I came up with
That's a
something, I
great
think,
thing
no,
to
that's not
do.
you. No, that's not you, really. So I was unsure, and I thought, who would know better than asking other people? So I said, hey, if someone asks you, what do I stand for? What does Annette stand for? What's she all about? What would you say? So I asked about 4 or 5 people, not more, because you cannot ask too many people. What came out is what others said is they would remember my optimism, that they always feel I'm optimistic and nothing can get me down, and anything negative, there's always something positive. That's a saying I have. Anything, no matter what happens, everything got 50% positive and 50% negative. Let's look at the positive side first.
Right.
And maybe we don't have time to talk about the other 50%. So I'm always trying to get my most positive self and to look at opportunities and strengths. What's out there to win, to accomplish, to strengthen, you know? And I think we once had a conversation about it. I do believe in every individual has a strength and potential. And I'm so interested to understand what is that strength? What is it that the other person stands out for, and how to strengthen it, and how to bring that person in a position to do that, to shine by doing what they really like. And that's normally what you're really good at. So my optimism, and people set the time that I have for people, and I'm, you know, they feel they can always reach out and ask me, and I'm, you know, always supportive. So a positive and supportive environment. And if I make people feel better after I had an interaction and a conversation than how they felt before, that would be, I would be very happy to know that I make people feel better after having had a conversation, even if it's difficult conversation, right? I'm not only having easy conversation in my job, believe me, but even if afterwards they have clarity and an understanding and therefore feel better, then I would be happy if that could be my legacy.
That's a great legacy, and you're so right. The conversations don't always have to be rosy,
Mm.
and the challenging conversations can also have a little bit of a dip down, but afterwards you feel more positive because it's brought some sort of enlightenment or clarity to the individual. So it's so true. Nice. I love that. And I can attest to what you just said about wanting to help, because when I talked to you, we were talking about the book. Even we have a few minutes before we start the podcast, and you're like, okay, this is what we're going to do, and this is what I'm going to post, and this is how I'm going to help you. And that is, for me, an amazing gift that you think that way, and that it shows again that you're looking to support other people, because just how important that is, that again, we're not on this journey by ourselves, but we're there to pull others in and to support others. And that ultimately lifts us up, which is your legacy, which is fantastic. So thank you
Mm.
for that.
Very early on, one of my first mentors, she said, what goes around comes around.
It does.
Yeah. But that's not, you know, I'm not
100%
doing it to get
does.
a lot back, but I guess this is when you
Yeah,
start
but it
training
does.
to
Yeah.
think differently. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. And to take that time. And the thing is, you don't know when it's going to come back. It can take years.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then all of a sudden you think, oh my goodness.
Look, I've always been so lucky in my life. I had so many great things happening to me. So I always feel I'm in debt. I had a prepayment, so to speak, with a lot of good things that happened. So I'm still paying back by giving back.
Giving back. But that's a great way to be. Well, thank you so much for taking the time this Monday and chatting with us a bit.
Well, thank
And
you. But
it's
thank
a
you for
pleasure.
having me, for asking these wonderful questions. And I can't wait to hear all the other people that will be part of your podcast. And thank you for this great project and writing this very important book and giving support to many by assembling all these information and stories for others to have all in one place, basically. Very good.
It's a fantastic thing. And the stories are what's key, because it goes from CEOs to you being a partner to a business developer. I think it's such a wealth to hear from so many different perspectives and so many levels of individuals. And I think that that's what is interesting about this. Sometimes we read these books and it's all just about sometimes unattainable positions. And that was important for me to bring individuals in that I know that I have relationships with, and to show what's attainable. And I love that. So thank you for being a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Have a fantastic week, and we will talk again soon.
Same to you. Thank you.